Hey everyone, it's Veiled back in another video, and today we're going to be discussing the recent community vote about whether or not we should be nerfing Hakrin in PvP on the official Ace Discord. I'm going to go over all of the things as well as the brief patch notes that we had. So if you do want to check out all of that, I'm going to leave the link to the official Awaken Chaos Era Discord down in the description down below. And if you do enjoy the content, be sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and let's jump into the Discord patch notes here. So I went ahead and jumped over to the right side so you all can see the patch notes here, and we have the first update here. It's very, very small, which is adjusted the way Water Prison works. It will now target immune effects first, after which I'm pretty sure it will, not sure if it will stun them or whether or not it will or not, but what's important is that it will target immune effects first, and that's important because there are a lot of situations where you want to get rid of that immune so you can start landing your poisons and such. So actually a pretty solid buff back to Water Prison after they nerfed it from being a full buff cleanse or buff removal. So I do like this change. Next up is the added interface for arena rules. This is just a nice little interface in arena. You can check it out. Then we have dungeon. All No Man's Land will be now open to new players for 7 days. This is pretty big for new players. This means that you can max out any epic that you get on day one, because epics are actually quite easy to max out, and it was always unfortunate to have like an Athalia, Zatlux, and you weren't able to max them out until perhaps 2-3 days from when you started your account. Next up, we have some bug fixes, and most of these don't matter, but I do want to talk about Godfrey real briefly. This is a very similar bug to what we were experiencing previously with Godfrey, and so it's basically just fixing that, where he would hit everyone when someone was casting a single target buff, and that's not how his passive is supposed to work. The second one is Goobag. So previously, when you pair Goobag and Niklaus together, Niklaus would not go before Goobag, even though his trait says speed +1, and Goobag has a hidden passive where he gets the first turn in every battle. So what we have here is that we wanted Niklaus to go before Goobag in a lot of cases, and for some reason he was not, and now it is fixed, so that does work out perfectly. So now we're going to be talking about the new news in regards to the Hackrin changes that they are proposing. So as you can see here, I'm just going to read this real briefly. We've gathered a lot of feedback about Hackrin's performance in Arena and wanted to finally put this discussion to bed with a vote. Should we nerf Hackrin in PvP by cutting his trait in half? So this is going to be going down from 20% to 10% in PvP. As you can see here, PvE will not be affected by the change. And also, if you want to vote, or you should vote to determine whether or not you want to have Hackrin nerfed or not, you actually have a chance of getting some free rewards. So there you go. We're going to jump over to the Hackrin poll, and I'm going to discuss a little bit of my thoughts and why I think this is actually a really, really cool move by Ace. So first off, we have the votes here. You can see here 1,500 votes for yes, 740 votes for no. Now, I think everyone should go ahead and vote. First off, you're going to get free rewards. It's like a giveaway, so there's no reason not to. But on top of that, you could swing the vote one way or another. Now, I will be voting yes here, and I'm going to explain all that in just a second. So as you can see here, we're going to be nerfing Hackrin's trait in half for PvP. Now, I've heard a lot of arguments for and a lot of arguments against. Well, not necessarily a lot of arguments for, but a lot of arguments against this change, this nerf. And I just don't think that a lot of the arguments are very mutually exclusive of not nerfing Hackrin. There oftentimes you can do something in addition to this, which isn't necessarily mean you shouldn't do this, and I'll explain that in just a second. But I want to tackle the first reason why, or the only reason why I really think that this is going to help a lot of players, and a lot of people say it's not. I really don't understand where this is coming from, because let's just go ahead and jump into my arena shard right now. If we look, you can see here, I am ranked, what is this, 20, let's see, come on, 26. So I'm ranked 26. You can see in my arena list, we have 4 teams with Hackrin. If we just look at the ranks, we have Hackrin on rank 1, 2, rank 4, and then rank 5, rank 6, 9, that's 7, and then 6, and then 9. You can see Hackrin is just proliferated throughout Arena. And so he is used quite often, right? And so even if you're not in the more end game, I am a global launch or a soft launch player on this account. Even if you're not at that stage, it's still quite proliferated throughout the arena. And so even if we were just talking about my account here, this would help me beat a lot of these Hackrin teams on defense, so it would make arena offense easier. And I'm just going to go ahead and move over to my alt account here. That's also a soft or a global launch account. And you can see here, Hakrin, Hakrin, Hakrin. And then if we refresh, we can just refresh here. We have another 4 Hackrins and then a 1-person defense. We go to the ranks and you can see Hakrin, Hakrin, Hakrin. It's everywhere, right? So even if I'm a global launch player, soft launch player, it is proliferated throughout Arena. He is a monster in Arena defense. I don't think anyone really disputes that. The thing is, a lot of arguments, and I'm going to go through each one of them and why I think it's a little misleading. The first one is I've heard is that nerfing Hakrin won't help any of new players or people in Arena, as most whales or most endgame Arena players will just swap out their characters for better characters, and it doesn't do anything. So 2 things to that. First off, in not helping newer players, I do not see the logic in this. Either they're not a newer player themselves, they don't have a soft launch account, or they haven't started a new account recently. Because if you go into Arena, yes, you're going to be proliferated with a lot of win stresses and stuff at the beginning of the game. But once you start playing for about 3-4 weeks, you're going to enter the Hakrin meta. And you can see here, literally the top, what is this, 23 teams have Hakrin in them. And it becomes very, very difficult to handle these squads. And I'm fortunate enough on this alt account to actually have 3 of the best damage dealers in the game, which is Evra, Valyria, and Nathalia, along with Winstrex. So I can burst through a lot of them. However, a lot of people do not have that. And the reason why Hakrin is so strong on defense, and defensive characters in general are so strong, is something that I'm going to go over in a little bit. But I don't see the logic in where it won't help new players. I don't think people are actually being realistic in that mode. Even in late game, it will help players. And then the second part to that is people will just replace Hakrin with a new character that's better for Arena defense. Well, they could do that now anyways. So why not nerf Hakrin for the people who are struggling to get to the defensive comps with Hakrin? Hackrin does provide a massive defense bonus to the rest of the squad, and it is significantly harder to take out characters and teams with Hackrin than without. And so if they were saying, okay, well, Hackrin's not even good, well, then you could just swap it after or before. It doesn't really matter, but the teams with Hackrin would still be worse, and you would still have an easier time on Arena offense. Along with this point, some people have mentioned that Arena defense will be harder for newer players. Again, this is all about, for the majority of players, do not care about Arena defense, including myself. I don't care about Arena at all. So this change doesn't really have too much passion within me. But I will say that I would prefer Hakrin nerfs. And the reason for this is that I don't care about Arena defense. I care about Arena offense. I want to use my tickets every day. And, you know, you can have a really terrible Arena defense, like a 1-character defense, and you can still climb to Diamond. I've been doing it pretty much every season. And you can still get your base rewards, but you're probably not going to be able to climb to Legend, even if you had a full-on Hakrin defense anyways. So this just doesn't really make too much sense in my mind, because I don't think they really understand that Arena defense is not what matters here. It's all about Arena offense for a lot of players, for the fun factor, for the reason why it's irritating, and all of that sort of situation. And then we go into kind of like the 3rd and 4th points for here. And the 3rd point is that this is a lazy solution and should not be done. It's a temporary fix. I don't understand this argument in general, because why not do both? Why not do the temporary fix and then proceed to a long-term solution? They're not mutually exclusive. And for myself, I've been saying this the entire time we've been playing this game. Arena doesn't necessarily need to be nerfed. All it needs is additional characters and additional gear sets and abilities to compete with the defensive comps. And this is something I was mentioning earlier that I'm going to talk about now. Defense-based comps, especially Hackrin in particular, kind of bypasses this whole idea of effective HP in regards to single entities. And that's a lot of words, but basically what I mean is when you're building a unit in every other gacha game, you build HP and then you build a little bit of defense, because the higher HP you have, the more defense you have makes that HP each point more valuable, and vice versa. And so what happens here is you have HP-based characters like Mythasia, like Brand, like Corrupt Aurak, as you can see here, and then you just stack them with pure HP, and then you run Hackrin, and you have pure defense, and now they all basically work with each other and become a very, very strong composition, because you do not need to balance your stats across characters, since you can bypass it with Hackrin passive. This makes it very, very difficult. On top of that, when you're building a defensive comp, you need significantly less stats than your offensive counterpart for a lot of people, when you're in the mid game to starting to get to this point in arena, you're going to be fighting teams and they're only going to need HP, defense, perhaps defense, because you can stack one stat on a lot of these characters, and then maybe resistance and agility. But if you're running offense, you're going to need every single time crit rate, crit damage. You're also going to need attack percentage and precision, perhaps, if they're running agility. This is massive. All these stats are very significant to obtain and very much more so difficult than just stacking a bunch of HP and calling it a day. It's very hard to gear out your units in order to compete with these tankier comps. And so why not nerf Hakrin for the time being and make it easier for some of those newer players, and then later on fill out the game with those new characters, with those new gear sets. They're not mutually exclusive. Why can't you do both? Now, obviously, I don't want to see them nerf Hakrin and just not touch Arena again. I don't even think that you need to necessarily mess around with Arena, and you just need to kind of expand the viability of damage dealers within the entirety of the game. Now, the fifth point essentially would be that why doesn't the game just remove the tower entirely and or have it hit both offensive and defensive teams so that it's fair? So this one I am conflicted on. I think there is a valid point to both sides. I think the other one's kind of, I don't really see the perspective for a lot of people, but this one I do see. Maybe the arena is just super irritating for a lot of people, and I think that yes, there are some healthy mechanics in the game, right? I think that it is good to have some mechanics that people don't like, even though, people have said they don't like it because they're healthy for the game. However, I think Arena in this case, it's caused so much public disapproval of Arena that there is some validity to just changing the way Arena works and having it hit both sides or removing the tower entirely. However, what I will say is that I do not like generally changing the entire system over a couple of strong teams or strong characters. In this case, I think it is especially strong characters, specifically characters like Hackrin, characters like Methasia, characters like Brand, these very, very defensive characters, specifically Methasia and Hackrin, and Yolanda is starting to creep up as well because people are seeing the value in her. So I do not think that the entire system needs to be changed. I think that it needs to be expanded in regards to the viability of a lot of the damage dealers, as well as nerfing some of the very, very strong characters like Hakrin. And mind you, this nerf is only for PvP. It's not a PvE nerf. And so a lot of people are building Hakrin for PvE and then just accidentally entering into a very strong defensive comp. And so I think in general, this is a temporary fix. I would like to see them do different changes and then perhaps revert the Hakrin change after they have improved the quality of the damage dealing gear slash gear sets or damage dealing characters in general, adding something like ignore defense and such. Then Hakrin becomes, I think, a much more dealable character. But currently, it's just that yes, it's beatable, absolutely, but it's just not beatable until much later on in the game or until you have some really, really solid damage dealers. And even in this case, I still can't get through a lot of defensive comps because Hakrin and the defensive stacking with HP and resistance and all that is just so, so strong. So those are my initial thoughts, and again, I'm interested in what you all think down below because, again, I think it's a temporary band-aid for a potential long-term fix. I want to see both, because I think they're both helpful for the game. And I don't think everyone should think that these are mutually exclusive. You can have both. You don't nerf Hakrin and never touch it again. You can nerf Hakrin and revert it later on when they've made some improvements to Arena. So those are my thoughts. And again, if you want to check it out, it's going to be in the description down below, and I will see you for the next one.